Hi friends, I'm so glad to see you today. It is Super Bowl Sunday, and today I want to talk to you about that call, that text. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. What do you do as a mom when you get that call or that text and your student is miserable? This is not for me. I made a mistake. I don't fit in. No one likes me. I have a terrible roommate. The list is endless, right? There could be 100 different scenarios about why your student is calling you and telling you, I need to come home. Whether it's for the whole semester or maybe they just need a break. You now need to figure out what's the right next step. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is when your student messages you because they're homesick. Tears at your heart, right? Okay, so I did a lot of research online, Psychology Today and Mayo Clinic. I looked at a lot of posts from parents. Grown and Flown's got a great website with a bunch of resources, but the most useful information I found was from Psychology Today and the Mayo Clinic. So I'm going to just give you some insights into the Reader's Digest version of what I found that I think will be helpful to you. So I think it's helpful first to recognize parents today. I know I am very much guilty of it. It physically pains me to see my kiddos suffer in any way. I need to swoop in and I need to save them from it. I need to fix it. And that has been, as a mama of adult children, that has been the most difficult thing for me. Not just to take the right steps and let them figure out their problems, but to even recognize it in myself that that's what I'm doing. I'm a swooper. Let me jump in and let me tell you what needs to be done, or let me stop you from hurting or being confused or being frustrated. Let me fix it for you. What I have learned and what psychologists have affirmed is I'm not helping them build those skills in themselves when I'm doing it for them. So now I'm hurting them, which is just counter to what I'm striving to do. So that's the hard part, right? That's what we're faced with, is letting them fall down, letting them struggle, and really being able to distinguish between struggling for personal growth and struggling where you have a red flag because there's a mental health concern. So hopefully I will share some insights for you, not only how to nudge them on how to survive and move past it, but also I want to share some recommendations if you're concerned about a mental health issue, so depression or anxiety, especially if you've sent your student to college with a pre-existing diagnosis of anxiety and depression. Okay, so first thing we want to do is acknowledge their feelings. Let them know it's perfectly normal. Change is naturally going to bring these emotions up in all of us, whether it's a week at summer camp or whether it's moving to university, or even if it's just they're moving out for the first time. These are completely normal feelings and part of the human experience. Mayo Clinic says they define homesick as the awareness of the change from their normalcy that they're used to. So it's almost like FOMO. So the home environment's not the same. Where I'm waking up and going to bed at night is different. My pet is not with me. My siblings are not around, even though I may have fought with them like cats and dogs. They're no longer right here for me to poke and pick fun of. My parents aren't right here accessible to me. My routine is different. I'm in charge of everything. No one's doing my laundry for me or telling me when I need to get up. So the change in normal is what's triggering these feelings. The human brain is wired for consistency. We go on repeat, and that gives us a sense of safety and comfort. And when that shifts, our brain has to work harder, and some alarm systems flare up from our primitive brain to say, change, wait, is there a dinosaur coming after me? Is there a wild animal coming to eat me? Be alert, danger. And so adjusting to your new normal is learning how to become aware of that, recognize it, label it, and acknowledge that it's okay and normal, but I'm going to work through it. Okay, so here are some tactics that I pulled together that you can offer your student to get through this, okay? So the first one I've already kind of mentioned a little bit. Give them permission to feel uncomfortable. I would liken this to going to the gym, and you know that you've had a good workout when your muscles are sore, right? You fatigued them, you've tore down that muscle tissue a little bit in order to build it up stronger. So I would compare, or I would say it's a similar feeling when you have that uncomfortable feeling of homesickness. You're building that, I'm growing up, I'm developing my own independence, I'm developing that muscle, I'm flexing it. So give them permission to feel uncomfortable. Nothing was ever easy the first time. Nothing was, many times it was still hard the 10th time you tried it. So it's just going to take some time to get to that new feeling of normal. And what's great is they get to practice this over and over, right? You're going to deal with this when they come home for the summer, because normal's not the same anymore as it was last summer when they were home. And then they're going to deal with this again when they go back to school the next fall. And then they're going to deal with this again when it's time to graduate and get a job. So this is just this is just part of the human experience. It's ever changing, ever evolving. Because if you don't change and evolve, you're just going to get moldy. And no one wants to be around that. Okay, so the next thing that you should encourage them to do is talk to others, get support. It's very, very likely that they have a friend, a classmate, somebody that is in the residence hall with them, or that's always in the dining court at the same time as them, that is experiencing the same thing. And don't be afraid to put themselves out there and acknowledge, man, this is hard, isn't it? I kind of miss my mom's home cooking. Man, it sucks kind of having to do your own laundry. Encourage them to be vulnerable, because through vulnerability is where they make those new connections. Okay, Brene Brown's got some great advice on that. Then they're going to need to be encouraged to create some new traditions. New tradition at college could be a local restaurant, or going to the basketball game with certain people, or athletic event, or going to the co-rec and climbing that wall. Let them come up with what that is. Not a must. It's not going to fix it, but it's a possibility. It's a tactic to try. The other thing that's highly recommended is to get out and become familiar with their new environment. Get on a scooter, or just get out and walk around and see what's out there. They need to develop a familiarity with their new environment, because what's familiar is going to create that feeling of home for them again. So the more that they get out and expose themselves, take a walk every day, go visit the local shelter and do some volunteering with the animals. That'll give them a twofer, right? If they're a pet lover, it would be a great opportunity for them to not only get out and learn about their community, but also provide service. Develop a routine in your day. Nothing gives a person a greater sense of security than having a routine that you can count on. Now, I'm not a huge believer in it's got to be 100% of the time. I love to kind of fly by the seat of my pants, but that's not everybody's jam. So you probably know what is best for your student, but have them develop some level of routine. Get a planner. Bonus points if that planner has a journal in it where they can journal and reflect, kind of process their thoughts and what they're experiencing. That's so healthy. But get a planner. At minimum, have them plan out their assignments, their readings, their exams, their big projects. At minimum, they need to put that stuff in their planner. But at least they've got a starting point for developing some sense of routine. Another option would be to join a club or to get a job on campus. The job is certainly not going to be something that's going to make them rich, but it could potentially be a resume builder. It could potentially give them a connection to something else. I know in my office, we welcome our student employees. They have a pseudo family in our office. We are very committed to looking out for our students, to making sure we pay very much attention to when they're not acting themselves, when they've not shown up for work or are late for work, when they look disheveled, when they look like they've lost some weight. We ask them how they're doing, and we wait to hear their response. So I can't imagine that my office is unique in that, but I would strongly encourage work on campus would be an amazing opportunity. Volunteering would be another bonus, whether it's, like I said, at the local shelter, whether it's at a senior citizen home. The lists are endless. If your student isn't sure where to volunteer, shoot me an email. I'll get connected with some friends at your student's university, and I'll get some real concrete suggestions for you. Other thing to make sure that they're doing is taking care of themselves. Make sure that they recognize that they need to get the proper amount of sleep every night. Make sure that they are hydrating and eating properly. Make sure that they are getting exercise. It seems it's an autopilot statement, right? Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep and exercise and you're eating right. It's almost become desensitizing, but it's a big deal. So say it over and over. They're going to blow you off, but you need to keep saying it. Proper sleep, proper nutrition, proper exercise. Even if it's only 30 minutes a day, get out there and move their body. I know a lot of the time my students on my campus typically will get the amount of physical activity, not raising their heart rate, but they'll get plenty of physical activity just walking from residence hall to class, because it's a walk. Okay, so then we have the little caveat of, if your student already has a history of depression or anxiety when you sent them off, hopefully before you sent them off, you did make a connection with a local healthcare provider, not the universities, but within the community. The university many times gets bogged down with new flare-ups, and so your student will go on a waiting list. They will not get the timely response they need. So If you did not already do it, and your student does have a diagnosis of anxiety or depression, now is as good a time as any to have your physician reach out, make a referral with a physician in that community so that your student can take a bus, take a bike, take a cab, take an Uber, whatever, and get themselves to a healthcare provider. Okay, so Mayo says you and your student should develop a list of symptoms that are your sort of red flags that it's more than just homesickness. So it could be, have they developed some isolation? And that may mean you reaching out to their roommate or the resident assistant and asking those questions. Because it's been my experience that your student doesn't want to worry you or upset you. So they're going to tell you what you think you want to hear to make sure you don't worry. So to have a third party give you real concrete information is helpful. I also would encourage your student to be honest about their diagnosis with their academic advisor, who can be yet another set of eyes on the lookout for symptoms that are concerning. The last thing any of us want is for you to pick up your student at the end of the semester and find them in their room and realize that they have not left their room for weeks or, God forbid, even months or more. They haven't showered, they are not eating well. And it's a really, really dark place that they've been living, but sheltering you from that experience. So as much as a student might prefer to keep their diagnosis private, there are some trusted people that you probably need to encourage them to let them in on their situation. So an academic advisor, a resident assistant, a trusted adult in the campus community that can actually go lay eyes on your student if you're worried. So isolation was one, changes to their eating or sleeping habits. This could be apparent if you pay attention to their texting calls, whether it's diminished or increased texting, calling to you. And the time of day that happens. It's going to be tough for you to recognize eating and sleeping habits when they're not in a residence hall. If they have a meal package, you should be monitoring those meal charges and steadily see them diminishing as an indicator that things are going good. And if they have plateaued and you don't see additional charges, that could be a red flag to you that your student's not eating, or at least to reach out and say, what's going on? Is there something wrong with your meal card? Drug and alcohol use is another red flag. Again, from a remote distance, it's difficult for you to be aware of it, but certainly having those trusted individuals loop you in on behaviors that they see are concerning will be terrific. Similar other reckless behaviors. I'm personally thinking of, some social promiscuity or taking on a really dangerous hobby or something to that effect might be something that would be cause for alarm. And then certainly skipping class. This may be something additionally will be difficult for you to become aware of, because unless your student's college takes attendance, I know mine does not take attendance. There's a lot of red tape with the federal government when you are an institution that takes attendance. So many don't. Faculty may choose to build attendance into a grade. So there's that possibility, but faculty are so hesitant to talk to a family member who calls and asks about a student's participation. I'm going to caution you from getting your students login to actually log into their coursework online so you can see what their submissions look like. I think that is a slippery. I think that's a slippery slope on the level of trust between you and your students. So reaching out to those that you have accessible to you, an academic advisor, a resident assistant, a roommate. I know at my institution at Purdue, we have something called a Student of Concern report, and anyone can submit a report for a student from anywhere. So I know I can do it, a family member can do it, a classmate can do it, a faculty member can do it. So anybody can submit a Student of Concern report, and it could be anything from they demonstrated really threatening and inappropriate behaviors to I haven't seen them in a few days, which is very atypical. I've reached out and they're not responding to my calls or texts. It could be as simple as that. It would be important to include any history of anxiety and depression so that the recipient of that can better assess the level of concern, whether it's a phone call, a check-in, reaching out to faculty, or someone actually physically should go to their apartment or residence hall and lay eyes on them. So that's a great resource that my institution offers. And if you're not sure if your son or daughter's institution offers something similar, I encourage you to check it out. The label is probably going to vary by organization. The Dean of Students office is probably a great place to start unless they have a parent and family programs office. That would be the other place to look. If your search comes up with no answers, email me. I can pick up the phone and call some colleagues there and see what I can find out for you. Okay? Great. Okay, so student is homesick. What are you going to do? You are going to assess the situation first. Do not swoop in and save the day. You're going to give them some validation about their feelings, acknowledge it, remind them that it's healthy and normal, and then you're going to give them some tactics on how to see it through to the other side. And then you're also going to be very aware of the symptoms that might alert you to a more serious healthcare concern that would warrant a visit to a healthcare professional, whether it's for counseling or a medication adjustment. Okay? Super. So look forward to seeing your comments about this. Was this helpful? If you find my podcast helpful, I would really appreciate you giving me a review, either in Google Play or Stitcher or iTunes. When you give me a review, it helps the platform let other people know that there's helpful information in here, and it's your way of helping me get the word out. Another way you can help is share my podcast. Send it to a friend. Tell them to check it out. You can also follow me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm at Not Your College Life on Instagram, and I'm at lisabeals.com on Facebook. I have a business page there as well as a community of amazing parents that are there to support and encourage each other. And I'd appreciate you joining my Facebook community and contribute to helping other parents this journey of transitioning your student from teen to young adult and through college. It's as much of a journey and transition for you as it is for them. And I appreciate all of you guys. Till next time. Oh, and if you have suggestions for future podcasts, please shoot me an email. I'm at lisa@lisabeals.com, or you can go over to Facebook or Instagram and hit me up over there and let me know what topics do I need to make sure to cover. All right, guys, take care. Thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate you.